Welcome to the world of Carpathian Forest, a Norwegian black metal band. And the album we are going to be focusing today on is Morbid Fascination of Death. It's an album that was released in 2001, and I remember when I first discovered this band, I was reading a magazine, The Grind Zone, that focused on pretty much extreme heavy metal, black metal, death metal, and all those extremist branches of metal. And Carpathian Forest was a band that released that third album in that year, and there was an interview, a special interview on not the guitarist, but the singer, Natterfrost. And I remember being very fascinated, quote unquote, by the interview, because apparently the singer suffered from depression, and what really drew me into this band, it was that the singer was battling with depression, and he was under medication, and therefore he got inspired to write an album, a concept about his depression, and seeing his thoughts and writing about his thoughts going through those states of mind. Therefore, the title Morbid Fascination of Death, which is pretty apocalyptic. The album is in the purest black metal style. However, there is lots of personality and character that shows whenever the album is playing, because the intro is already telling you that yes, there is black metal in the recipe, but it's another type of black metal that we were all used to. So different from Dark Throne, Immortal, Dimmu Borgir, and all the bands that we already covered. There's another genre that emerges from the ashes of the black metal of the 90s. So here is a little bit more, I should say, creepy in terms of sounds, a little bit more dark, and the actual distortion is a pretty peculiar one. And whenever you hear the sound of the guitars, you will definitely know what I'm talking about, because it's not that kind of mosquito-like buzzing sound that we were all used to with the black metal of the 90s. But here, the mosquito sounds buzzing like is a little bit more, I should say, deeper, and in terms of tone, I think is even tuned a few half tones, even lower. But I'm not an expert, so I'll leave you guys to properly educate me in this topic. But this is what appears to my ears. So whenever I hear it, it sounds like it's a little bit deeper than usual. However, his voice here, the Natterfrost voice, is a mixture of Dark Throne and that toady voice of Abath from Immortal, and it's very peculiar. The style here is not very, I should say, heavy, although it is heavy, but it's also very doomy and deep, very atmospheric. Whenever you hear the actual songs and those places the songs are trying to bring you to. From the first track onwards, especially with the second track, which I guess is called Doomed to Walk as a Slave in the Living Dead, something like that. I remember there was like the intro of that song is like doomed to walk the earth as a slave, as the living dead. I remember I used to just play over and over again. It was really into my world of waking up every day and just having that kind of tune into my brain and playing it and mimicking it, lip syncing it whenever I was listening to the song, and I was really taken by it. I remember I was in the third grade, my third grade, when I discovered this band, and I remember really enjoying it. And throughout the years, I've been listening to this album many times. I saw them live back in 2003, pretty much 20 years ago. And it was at the Wacken Open Air, which is in Germany, in Hamburg. And remember going there with my friends on the train from Sicily to Turin, and then from Turin to Hamburg, all the way with a bus. It was such a journey, a long journey, but especially the way back was even the most excruciating one. But anyway, I remember the concert was great. I think it was the second day, and it was in the afternoon, and on that day it was very grey, and I think it had rained already. And when Carpathian Forest took on the stage, the first thing I remember was that after a few songs, Natterfrost puked on stage, and that was something that will always stay with me. Funny enough, then a few years after, I met a few guys from the north of Italy who back then I didn't know at the time of the Wacken Open Air, but they told me that they were there at the same concert and they remember that scene. That was really, really great to remember. I mean, how better perform a black metal concert, than literally puking on stage with all those screams. And I think obviously he had a few drinks before he came onto the stage, ending up into a proper vomit on stage. And yeah, the microphone must have been full of lots of great slimy liquid. But anyway, I don't want to upset you with all these images of puke. I just wanted to tell you that the concert was, apart from that event, that incident, it was great. I remember they performed lots of songs from Morbid Fascination of Death, because that was I think they were still touring for the album. And the album that came after that, I can't remember which one it was, but it was an album that was on those lines, on similar lines of Morbid Fascination of Death. And it was really, I remember one of my friends purchased it, and then we probably exchanged the albums and we commented both of them. But obviously, maybe because I was a little bit biased, I still believe that Morbid Fascination of Death is a little bit superior to the album that now is coming to my mind. I think that the title is called Fuck You All. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. It is that. Apart from that, so yeah, go through this journey. So this new journey I'm suggesting you, it's, as I said, the intro is very kind of whispered, a little bit spoken, with that voice which resembles a little bit the Abath voice from Immortal. Very toady, and yeah, the second track is Doomed to Walk as a Slave in the Living Dead, something like that, and the rest of them are all one better than the other one. Another peculiar thing about this album is that there is a bit of saxophone towards the end, and I think one of their friends who was a saxophonist joined the band for those recording sessions in order to play the saxophone in a couple of songs towards the end. And all my memories that I retain with me about this brilliant record are memories of my teenagehood spent in my living room listening to the stereo, trying to then play the bass guitar and trying to pick those notes that they were trying to play and trying to do whatever they were doing, and then trying to also play those songs with my band. At the time I was playing with. Yes, so all those cliches of the black metal guy fan were all there, because obviously I used to have long hair and spiky bracelets, plus sometimes I used to do eyeliner, sometimes I used to do some nail polish, black, and if it was that we were playing on stage, I used to also play with my look a little bit, so I used to do a little bit of corpse paint, they used to call it, or face paint, plus a little bit of lipstick, like black lipstick. So it was a fun time. It was a fun time. And obviously the songs we used to play were, at the beginning, we used to do some covers of the major metal bands, and then we niche down a little bit, starting to play a little bit of more extreme metal, like Haunted, for example. And by the way, once I'm mentioning it, one day there will be a special episode about the album Made Me Do It, which is another of those things that you will always be there and remember and talk about them. So, Morbid Fascination of Death. Guys, don't miss it, because this is such a big thing, and I mean, there's no real review to kind of stress enough how important this album is for the second wave of the Norwegian black metal bands. To be fair, this is probably the first I remember, which is a bit newer than the other ones, because obviously they started towards the late 90s, and then obviously with the album Morbid Fascination of Death they imposed themselves into the market. But according to what I remember, this is the only, should say, new black metal band that started in a later period, as opposed to the other historical black metal band that we all know. But it's very worth giving some time, and if you have that kind of 50 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is, the length of the album, just please listen to it back to back, and then you will comment down below, obviously, and let me know what you think about that. I'm sure you will be delighted, as I normally try to give you good suggestions about my albums that have meant so much to me, and that's the reason why I want to share them with you, because you're great and you deserve to have similar experiences that I've been having, if not probably better, because I'm sure you know even more, much better stuff than me. Therefore, I'm here open to listen to your opinion about art and music in general, especially this type of music that I've been worshipping for so long. And have a lovely night. Have a good continuation of whatever you're doing. Stay metal. Good night.